Hi everyone, Peg with the down and dirty version of Art Joy is Sharing. Today we were working with stencils, and as you know, Chelsea and I have a joint session live on Thursdays at 10:30 right now. So if you want to see the full version, you can go watch Art Joy is Sharing live. That's our channel that we share. And today I am just showing some different techniques using stencils. So those little yellow stencils were ones that I had created using some dies to get multi-purpose out of my dies. I'm also showing a Jane Davenport product from American Crafts that I was not very satisfied with, but I'm going to use the pages in what I'm doing today because I need to use the paper even though the product did not turn out to be what I thought it was going to be. So I'm just applying some paint to my background. One side of this page is gessoed, which is the one that I'm using here first, and the other page is not. So I'm just doing this to show the differences between a gessoed surface and spritzing water through a stencil and then doing a pickup off of the gesso and a pickup off of the plain paper page because the plain paper, of course, is going to absorb more of the paint and it's going to give you a little bit different look than a gessoed surface. So you can see the white gesso underneath is popping through, and I'm just going to clean off those areas where it's still, sitting on top of the gesso. And then over here, I'm blotting the water off of my page, and it will give ghosting effect, but it's not the same. It's not as vivid and bright as the other page that has the gesso on it. So that was technique number one. Now I'm moving on to doing some more technique. I'm applying ink. This is the Distress Oxide ink to my page, and I'm going to do a comparison between the Distress Oxide and the Distress ink, the regular Distress ink. You can do this with any water-based ink because, yeah, it's going to move because it is water-based. So you can see there's the one that I did with regular Distress ink and the one that I did with Distress Oxide. And the Distress Oxide seems to me a bit brighter than the other one with just the Distress ink. So I'm going to get out, I'm talking to people about the differences between stencils and masks and, all of that sort of stuff, but we won't go into detail here. But I'm just going to apply this stencil to both pages, and I'm going to spritz with water. And the bottom half I'm going to cover with a medium. This is a I want to say it's one of the quicker drying mediums, and it is going to pick up the color from the ink into that white surface. So I got a blot, and I'm going to set those aside to dry, and I'll show you them again later. But I'm going to move on to technique number 3, which is one from Paula Phillips. She did a technique where you use masking tape, or not masking tape, packing tape on a stencil. And me, I thought I was going to be smart, and I did it on this wrapping paper. However, there was metal inside the wrapping paper. So I'm having a little bit of difficulty getting that off the stencil. I will get it off eventually, but during the live show, I didn't take the time to do the whole thing. I was just showing what the effect is. Now here I've just used a magazine sheet, and that peels off a lot easier. And so what you do is you put the masking tape on top of the stencil, on top of the um, magazine image, and then it picks it up. It's a transfer. And then you can apply that to your page. And you see there, I'm just applying that tape to my page. And someone had asked me, what did I do? How did I do it? So I'm showing putting this stencil on top of a page adding some tape to it, um, brayering it down, and then you just toss it in the water, let it soak a little bit, and then you can peel off the backing and the stencil. So what is that? That's technique number 3, right? Trying to keep track of how many we can do in an hour and a half here. And of course, we have to show what Shell is up to too. But now I'm going to use a stencil and some more magazine paper, and I'm going to do a little bit of sanding. This is a nice way to create some collage fodder and distort the images. You know, I like the colors and things on the magazine papers, but I also uh, don't want to use the image the way it comes out of the magazine. So this is a good way of creating that collage fodder. Now this print is one that is a pickup paper from jelly printing session. You know how you use your tissue and deli paper to pick up the paint off of the stencil that's sitting on the jelly plate. Well, once you've done that, then you want to put more layers onto that. So I'm showing, you know, how to apply some paint with a stencil brush and how to use a stencil and um, some crayons and, you know, just layering, layering, layering. So what is that? Let's see, 4 and 5. Now we're up to using dry technique, which is using chalks. This happens to be pan pastels, and I am just sponging that on. You want to make sure that you seal that with a spray and let that dry a little bit before you move on. But I have this tag that has some modeling paste that I have colored, and I put that modeling paste through a stencil and applied it to the tag. So this is another technique. Where are we up to? 6 or 7 now, I think. Um, and I am now showing, if this is, I don't know, 7 or 8, using a stamp through a stencil to get a different design out of your stamp. And then, okay, we'll just call this number 8. I am using a stencil brush, and I'm just brushing on color with my stencil brush to this tag to add some more color to the background. You notice that I have several different types of stencil brushes here, talking about what you can use for stenciling. Typical brush has a flat end, and you already saw me use that with the paints, but this is a fun stencil brush too, and I think Blitzy is carrying them on sale right now if you're interested in a brush like that. So I'm going to go on, and I'm going to, you know, we're going to wrap up this show eventually. So I'm going to now use a stencil. What is this, number 9? And do a little bit of spritzing with my Deco Art Media spray. This is a permanent spray, so you know it works really well on these tags and things too. And then number 10 is going to be using junk, you know, the die cuts or the knockouts that you have that are left over from when you take chipboard apart. I'm using these pens and just using the design of this as if it were a stencil for my own homemade stencil design. So yeah, there's 10 quick and easy techniques for you for your stenciling. Um, and just remember that when you create shapes with these, that you can doodle inside of them too. So um, anyway, I hope to see what you do with stencils, and I hope you enjoyed this. And if you want the full version, go over and watch us on Art Joy Sharing. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe. So that's it for me, and I will see you next week, maybe live if you join us Thursday morning at 10:30. Bye for now.